This song was actually written by Dick Burnett in 1916. On his way home from work in 1910, he was attacked on the street and shot in the face. Therefore, he became blind. After that, he wrote this song. It was taken by Emery Arthur later on and claimed as his. However, we know that the original writer was Dick Burnett. I am a man of constant sorrow. I have seen trouble all my days. I bid farewell to old Kentucky, the place where I was born and raised. For 6 long years I have been blind. No pleasure here on earth I've found. For in this world I'm bound to ramble. I have no friends to help me now. It's fare you well, my own true lover. I never expect to see you again. For I'm bound to ride that northern railroad. Perhaps I'll die upon that train. You may bury me in some deep valley. For many a years there I may lay. Then you can learn to love another while I am sleeping in my grave. Maybe your friends think I'm a stranger. My face you never will see no more. But there is one promise that I'll give you. I'll meet you on God's golden shore. Oh, Lord, brothers and sisters, I want to tell y'all a little bit about the mountains of North Carolina where I come from. Said back when I was a youngin', we'd get up on Sunday morning, I'd go out with my granny and grandpa. We'd go over yonder to Saddle Mountain. Saddle Mountain, a regular Baptist church, is where we was headed on Sunday morning. Now, Brother Glenn Killian, he'd stand up there and he'd bring us a message from the good book. He would stand and tell us about nourishing our minds, nourish our body, nourish our soul. Now, I'm going to tell y'all a little bit more about nourishing y'all's body now. Now, Brother Glenn Killian, he knowed exactly what to do right after church. He'd get on in his little old Chevrolet car. He'd follow my granny and grandpa on back through the gravel road across the mountain, back over to Rich Hill, because that's where they was a living at. Now, my granny would get in the kitchen, and she would pull out a big old wooden bowl, and down in that wooden bowl she'd have her some flour, and Lord, she'd put in a bunch of them good old drippings. Now, I'm going to tell you just exactly what my granny was doing. She was getting ready to make that good fried chicken and them good fried ham. But the most important thing about the meal that my granny was going to bring was the part that nourished your body from head to toe. She was mixing drippings and flour and just a little bit of milk, and she was going to mix that all together and make a good pone of good old Shortenin Bread. Shortenin Bread's what I'm talking to you about. Shortenin Bread will nourish the body, the mind, and the soul. Gives you plenty of things to keep you going. In and out and up and down, and Brother Glenn would come over and he'd get his fill of Shortenin Bread. Do love Shortenin Bread, and I do love Shortenin Bread. Everybody loves Shortenin Bread, and I do love Shortenin Bread. Ever since my hog been dead, dog's been a-rootin' in my tater bed, and I do love Shortenin Bread. I do love Shortenin Bread. Everybody loves Shortenin Bread. Said everybody loves Shortenin Bread. Oh, they ain't dying or sick in the bed. Called on the doctor, and the doctor said, feed your auntie on Shortenin Bread, and I do love Shortenin Bread. Do love Shortenin Bread. Everybody loves Shortenin Bread. Said everybody loves Shortenin Bread. Ain't I glad my old hog's dead? I got some shortening in my bread, and I do love Shortenin Bread. Do love Shortenin Bread. Everybody loves Shortenin Bread. My mama loves Shortenin Bread. My mama loves Shortenin Bread. Everybody loves Shortenin Bread. Everybody loves Shortenin Bread, and I do love Shortenin Bread. Do love Shortenin Bread. Everybody loves Shortenin Bread. Everybody loves Shortenin Bread. Ever since that dog been dead, the hog's been a-rootin' in my tater bed, and I do love Shortenin Bread. Do love Shortenin Bread. Everybody loves Shortenin Bread. Everybody loves Shortenin Bread. My mama loves Shortenin Bread. My mama loves Shortenin Bread. Everybody loves Shortenin Bread. Everybody loves Shortenin Bread. I love Shortenin Bread, and everybody loves Shortenin Bread. Two little babies laid in the bed, one rolled over to the other and said, and I do love Shortenin Bread. I love some Shortenin Bread. Everybody loves Shortenin Bread, and I do love Shortenin Bread. Do love Shortenin Bread. Everybody loves Shortenin Bread. Everybody loves Shortenin Bread. Everybody loves Shortenin Bread, and I do love Shortenin Bread. And my mama loves Shortenin Bread. My old ain't kind of sick in the bed. She rolled over into him and said, do love Shortenin Bread. Do love Shortenin Bread. Everybody loves Shortenin Bread. Everybody loves Shortenin Bread. Knock that chicken down off that lid before he mess up Shortenin Bread. And I do love Shortenin Bread. And I do love Shortenin Bread. Everybody loves Shortenin Bread. Everybody loves Shortenin Bread. And I do love Shortenin Bread. I do love Shortenin Bread. Everybody loves Shortenin Bread. My mama loves Shortenin Bread. Time is swiftly rolling on when I must faint and die. My body to the dust return, and there forgotten lie. My little children near my heart, and nature seems to bind. It grieves me sorely to depart and leave you all behind. My loving wife, my bosom friend, the object of my love. The time's been sweet I've spent with you, my sweet and harmless dove. How often you have looked for me, and all time seen me come, but now I must depart from thee and nevermore return. For I can never come to thee. Let this not grieve your heart, for you will shortly come to me, where we shall never part.
John Hardy was a wild, cruel man, carried 2 guns every day, shot the conductor on the northbound train, and they put John Hardy back in jail, oh boy, put John Hardy back in jail.
I want to live a Christian year. I want to die rejoicing. I want to feel sweet Jesus dear when the soul and the body is parting. When I can read my while deluge come. Let storms of sorrows roll, that I but safely reach my home. My God, my heaven, my all. Shall I bathe my weary soul in seas of heavenly rest, and not a wave of troubles roll across my peaceful breast.
Under my bed, you must set your little satchel. On my head, you can lay your little hand. If you'll be my little darling, I will be your loving little man. Run to the house and ask your mama, bride of mine will you ever be? She says no, run back and tell me, and I'll wait till you get free. When you get free, well then we'll get married. Think how happy then we'll be. We'll go to California, any place you wanna go. Or we'll go to Alabama, settle down and live at home. Wish I were a little sparrow, and I had the wings to fly. I'd fly back to the arms of my darling, light on her breast, and there I would die. As you see, I'm no little sparrow, neither have the wings to fly. So I'll go home all broken hearted, I'll weep and mourn until I die. Went out one day for to take a little walk. I walked upon old Wild Bill Jones. So walking and a-talking by my true lover's side, I begged him to leave her alone. Let's take down and pass around that long neck bottle. Have a drink on me. That day was the end of old Wild Bill Jones, and tomorrow'll be the end of me. Well, he says my age is 21 years, too old to be controlled. I drew my revolver from my side, destroyed that poor boy's soul. Let's take down and pass around that long neck bottle. Have a drink on me. For today was the end of old Wild Bill Jones. Tomorrow'll be the end of me. He jerked and he scrambled and he fell to the ground. He gave one dying moan, 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 dying